So, really welcome. It's lovely to have you all here. As you know, this is a everyday mindfulness session. So, not sure if you're familiar with mindfulness or not, but this session is essentially designed for anyone and everyone, but particularly if you're new to mindfulness or you're curious about it, you don't really know what it is, perhaps even a bit skeptical, then this session is for you. If you are experienced in mindfulness, then you're also very welcome, and you will know that going back to the beginning is all part of the process and practice anyway. So it's lovely to have you, and it would be nice if we did some introductions so everyone can get to know each other. So we're just going to do that in the chat. You're not required to speak. So it would be lovely if you're able to, in the chat, you could just introduce yourself by name and share with us how you're feeling today. So it could be helpful to do that by sharing what the weather is like in your head today. And when I say that, what I mean is that if your headspace was a weather condition, what would the weather in your head be like? So perhaps it's feeling a bit stormy. Perhaps it's feeling like there are kind of some dark clouds on the horizon that are rolling in. Perhaps it's feeling very bright and breezy and lovely and like you're on a sunny beach. Or anywhere in between any of those things. So whilst you're just popping that in the chat, I will introduce myself. So I'm Clarise, and I am a coach. I also teach mindfulness, and I'm a breathwork teacher. So I've been working in mental health and wellbeing for the past 16 years. And I've particularly focused on trauma-informed approaches to delivery. And I recently delivered the Mindfulness for Stress course that you might be aware of. So I have found that many of the tools that I will go through with you today, and certainly that we touch on in that course, are tools that have really helped me to become a less anxious person, to manage stress, and just generally find more enjoyment from life, but also to get to know myself more deeply. And so I really feel that mindfulness can be absolutely transformational. And I also find that mindfulness is not always what we think it is. It's certainly different to what I imagined it to be when I first started out. So interested to see what you think today. So let's have a look and say hello to you all. So hello B, lovely to see you. And hello Sam, calm summer's day, nice to hear. Claire, lovely to have you with us. Optimistic in a change, and no problem, Claire, you absolutely don't have to have your camera on anyway, so please don't feel like you have to worry about fiddling with it. And nice to have you, Sophie, of course. A little cloudy at the moment, and you're still very welcome. And hopefully we can either honour those clouds or just let them part slightly today during today's session. Okay, good to know how you're doing. What we're going to do today is just explore a few different things to support us. So we're going to start by understanding what mindfulness is, and then we will look at demystifying mindfulness. So I find that mindfulness can have a lot of connotations. People have got a lot of different thoughts about what mindfulness might be or might not be. And then we'll go into a few techniques. So we're going to do probably 3 techniques today is what I have planned. But what we'll almost certainly have time for is a body scan, which is a mindfulness practice, and a little breath practice. And then we'll save some time at the end for any questions or reflections that you have, and you're very welcome to share or not share. I like to leave quite a lot of space when I'm delivering, especially when I'm delivering mindfulness, because it allows time for you to take in the information that I'm giving you and to really sit with it and practice it. So if you are wondering why I'm not speaking, that's why. I'm just allowing you to take on the invitation. And it's important for you to know that I feel really comfortable with silence, and not everyone feels comfortable with silence. And sometimes it takes a long time to become comfortable with silence. However, if you are feeling a little uncomfortable in the silence, absolutely understand that. And I just want you to know that I'm not looking for you to fill it. If you're feeling like, oh gosh, I've got to fill the silence because poor Clarise, she's just waiting for someone to speak, it's okay, I'm not. You can feel free to just enjoy it. If you want to speak, you can. That's fine. That said, I will talk quite a bit at the beginning of this session just to give you the overview. And just to say, very welcome to Claire. I think a different Claire, not other Claire joining on a different device. So welcome. Okay, so what is mindfulness? Essentially, mindfulness is being aware of our experience. So that includes our thoughts. So it in its very simplest form is just being aware of what is happening around us. Famously, being aware of being aware. Very famous quote. That's what we're doing. So we're often not present with our thoughts and our bodies and our experiences. We do a lot of things on autopilot. So even if you drive, you likely drive your car on autopilot, walking around, making a cup of tea, all of these things that are part of your day-to-day routine. Generally, you're going to do on autopilot. Claire, good to see you. So, mindfulness requires us to pay attention. So to anything, to the walking, to the making a cup of tea, to our breath and breathing, it just requires us to pay attention. It means that we are noticing. And so one of the misconceptions about mindfulness is that we're completely switching off our brains. It's not the case. We're not trying to just switch off our brains when we're practicing mindfulness. We are actively paying attention and actively noticing what's happening for us. It's unlikely that your mind is going to be completely empty. And so something that people find, and I certainly found, is that when you first start practicing mindfulness, you think, well, I'm doing it wrong. I'm doing it wrong because my mind's still buzzing with things. I can't completely empty my mind. You might find that your mind becomes quieter. I absolutely do. But unless you have kind of like reached enlightenment, it's unlikely that you are going to have a completely empty mind. Our minds think that's what they do. What we're trying to do is be present with our thoughts. We are being more mindful. So when we are aware of our experience, we're in the present and we can feel it. It's more tangible for us and we can feel it now. When we're in the present, it's not yesterday, it's not tomorrow, it's what's happening now. I can't feel what happened yesterday and I can't feel what happens tomorrow. I can only feel what's happening now. And then another important element of mindfulness is non-judgment. So mindfulness asks us to let go of what is good and bad and just notice with curiosity. So we will make 100 different tiny judgments about what's good and what's bad in a day. So, for example, when I'm practicing mindfulness, perhaps I'm practicing an open eye mindfulness and I'm looking up at the ceiling and I think, oh gosh, there's a crack there. I'm going to have to do something about that. That's not good. We're just practicing non-judgment. So we're just looking at the crack. Obviously there's a crack on my ceiling. We're just noticing the crack. We're noticing the texture of it, the different patterns of it. There's no judgment there. We're just being curious. So we can incorporate all of those things into our experience. And I like to describe it as being quite childlike. You know, you're looking at the world through innocent eyes. And so there's no judgment there. So, what is the difference between mindfulness and meditation? So, for, I mean, overall, there's not a lot of difference. However, meditation is an ancient practice and it stems from Buddhism, as you likely know. We often say that meditation is practiced for shorter periods. It, it is a practice where we are building awareness. It's more likely when we're practicing meditation that we are sat still and we are really deep in a practice. Mindfulness is an offshoot of meditation and is relatively new. It's in terms of its name, and people have been practicing mindfulness for hundreds of years, but it is often more active than meditation. So, for example, like noticing colors, the shape, the feel of a plant. Mindfulness requires a lot of awareness. And so today we are going to be exploring both elements of meditation and mindfulness. So we'll do some practices, which we might call meditations, but all of them have the kind of overarching theme of mindfulness, that real noticing. Something that is really interesting about mindfulness is that researchers have found that mindfulness changes how the brain responds to stress. So it's actually changing our brain chemistry and changing our neural pathways. And I want to say that's certainly something that I have found if I use me as a case study of one, but also with clients that I work with, that actually it does change the way that you respond to stress. The part of the brain that detects threat becomes less active the more we practice mindfulness. And that helps us to regulate our emotions and become more settled in ourselves. And like with any practice, like with anything when we are learning something new, at first we might meet resistance. We might find that our brain's really busy and our brain's telling us that this is something that we're not good at. And the reason that we call it a practice is because it's something that we are always practicing. It's not like done it, completed it, mindfulness pro for life. It's absolutely something that we need to keep doing. The more we practice, the more we feel the benefits. And mindfulness really is about training ourselves to pay attention. So when we notice our mind wandering, we gently bring it back, and it then improves or strengthens our ability to focus. Something that I tend to find is that most of the mindfulness that I practice now is more kind of day to day rather than sitting down on a cushion for 20 minutes, which is lovely and absolutely encourage you to do. A lot of the mindfulness that I do will be more kind of like mini breaks throughout the day, realizing that I'm not present with myself and just grounding myself in the moment. It might be looking out my window and just noticing the flowers for just a minute in the kind of process of a busy day. So, should we do a little practice? We're going to start by just noticing. So this is just going to settle you in. You don't need to close your eyes. You don't need to sit in a particular way. We're just going to notice some things around us. So just in the space that you are in now, I just encourage you to look around. And we're going to practice non-judgment. You may not particularly like the space that you are in, and we're just going to look at it. I want you to notice a colour. Just noticing one colour that's in the space. Paying attention to the vibrancy, the depth. No judgment, just noticing. Switching your attention to some of the textures in the room. Perhaps there's a curtain or a wall. Just noticing the texture. If you were to touch it, do you think it might feel rough, smooth, wobbly? How might it feel? Can you notice the way that the light moves in the room? Are there perhaps shadows? Can you see where the sun comes in through a window, perhaps? Or the light from the ceiling moves on the floor? We're just noticing. And if you find that your mind has wandered, that's okay. You just come back to noticing. Okay, just coming back now to just taking in the full room. Have another kind of scan around the room, just bringing yourself to the present moment. And letting out the breath in a sigh. Okay. Did anyone notice their mind wandering during that activity? You can just raise your hand. Yeah. Okay. So mind doing what minds do. Mind will wander onto all sorts of different things, especially when there's a lot happening in your life, or you just have a busy mind. And it's absolutely okay. It doesn't mean that you're doing it wrong or that you should scold yourself. It can be very normal to say, oh, you're thinking again. Why are you thinking? It's okay. We just gently bring the mind back to the practice. Even we might want to follow the thought. We might think, oh, this is really interesting that this has come up right now. And actually my curiosity is, where has this thought come from? What's happening here? And actually I might want to follow the thought rather than coming back to the practice and just being curious about the why. If the why is because I feel really stressed about this, then how do you practice that self-compassion? How do you say to yourself, oh, okay, that's okay that I feel stressed right now. That's understandable that I feel stressed right now. I am going to allow myself to think about this. Or it might be, what feels best for me right now is to move away from that thought, to leave it there and come back to the practice. Okay, I'm going to move us into a body scan. Has anyone done a body scan before? B and Sophie and Sam. Okay, well, enjoy. You've done this before. If it's new to you, then I'm going to guide you through the whole thing, and it's a very gentle practice. I'm only going to lead you through 3 practices. That's 4, 3 practices today. And so, what I will say is that different people like different practices. For me, a body scan is not my favorite. I know for others, absolutely their favorite practice. They find it the most grounding. So, if this doesn't feel like it's for you, it's okay. It doesn't mean that mindfulness isn't for you. All right. So, what we'll start by doing is just getting yourselves into a comfortable position, whatever comfortable means for you. It might be lying down, it might be having your back up straight, it might be leaning back in your chair, whatever feels good for you. What I would suggest is that if your feet are on a bed or if you're sat in a chair, that you make sure that your feet are uncrossed. If you are sat kind of more cross-legged, like in a particular meditation pose, no problem. But if you're lying out on the bed, then just uncross the legs, and same if you're sat down on your chair. And you're very welcome, if you would like to just close the eyes or lower the gaze. Allowing the shoulders to drop away from the ears. Allowing your posture to be relaxed. And just gently tucking the chin, allowing the spine to be straight. Bringing your attention to your feet. Just focusing on where they make contact with the ground. Beginning to feel your whole foot, bit by bit. Your toes, heels, the top of the foot, and the ankle. Bringing attention to your knees. Noticing the sensations that are there. We may become aware of discomfort, tension, or other sensations as we scan the body. You just sit with it. We're experiencing the experience. Moving to the thighs, noticing where they make contact with the chair or the bed. Really focusing the attention on the thighs. Coming up to your spine from the bottom of your tailbone, up your spine, under your neck, bringing in focus to the whole of your back and ribs. Focusing now on the front of your body, starting in the stomach. What sensations are present? Perhaps you notice the breath in the belly, the movement as you inhale and exhale. Perhaps you unconsciously hold tension here. Perhaps you pull in the stomach without conscious thought. It might feel nice to let it go. Although we don't need to change anything. Noticing the stomach. Coming up your torso to your chest. Perhaps your breath is more noticeable for you here. You might feel the beat of your heart. Letting the focus on the torso fade. Coming to your hands. Noticing where they're placed. Perhaps they're on the body. Feeling the sensation of each finger. Noticing the palm of your hand. The back of each hand. Bringing your focus up from the hands to both wrists. Up the arms to the elbows. The upper arms to the shoulders. Noticing if the position of your shoulders has changed since the beginning of the practice. Have they softened or perhaps crept back up towards the ears? But just noticing without judgment. Moving to the neck, up to the front of the face. Bringing attention to your jaw. It may feel nice to unstick the tongue from the roof of your mouth. Noticing the lips. The space between your eyebrows. Allowing the eyes to almost sink into the sockets. Bringing your focus to your scalp. You may notice some tingling or pulsing. Maybe nothing at all. Now bringing in your full body, becoming aware of the body as a whole. Perhaps you'd like to imagine breathing into the full body, feeling the breath move through you. And gently letting go of the focus of the practice. Perhaps gently wiggling the fingers and the toes. Slowly, there's no rush here. Perhaps you'd like to come into a stretch. And gently, whenever you're ready, opening the eyes, refamiliarizing yourself with your surroundings. There's no rush at all here. If you want to stay in this space, you can. One of the reasons that we do this practice is to notice the body. Sometimes the body can feel like a not very safe or happy place to be. And so, for that reason, body scans can be challenging. But also, it can help us find joy and familiarity in our bodies and appreciation for them. For some people who experience pain in the body, doing a body scan before bed can be something that can be quite settling, help you to just notice where you are, particularly with people who suffer with arthritis. Is something that often you can find is that just focusing on the parts of the body and allowing the body to unwind can be really helpful when settling in to bed. It's lovely to have guided mindfulness and meditation practices, but you get the idea. You start at one end of the body and you move to the other end of the body. And so it's absolutely something you can take yourself through. I personally prefer to be guided when I'm doing more of a meditation practice. It's nice. I don't have to, move myself on. I don't have to think, oh, am I rushing through this? But also it can be really lovely to do it for yourself because then you can go completely at your own pace. Some people find that practitioners might move too quickly before you're ready to actually move on. For example, I really want to stay in my knees. Actually, I really want to stay with that sensation that's there. And sometimes if we're experiencing discomfort in an area, it can kind of be almost helpful to stay with that discomfort just for that little bit longer, to almost become like friends with it, to say to it, okay, it's okay here. We're going to stay here a bit longer. I'm going to recognize you, give you space. So I said we do 3 practices. So I'm going to take you through another. I mentioned that I'm also a breath worker, so I cannot leave you without a breath practice. Breath is a very powerful tool. So the first thing we do is breathe. And when I say that I'm a breathwork guide, people often say, I think I know how to do that. Thank you very much. I'm doing it right now. I've been doing it my whole life. And you have. The breath needs no instruction. That being said, it's an incredibly powerful tool. And it's something that we all have at our disposal all of the time. And many of us will experience dysfunctional breathing, particularly when we've experienced trauma. And so having time to work with the breath can be something that's really helpful, especially, as I say, because it's always there with you. So all we're going to do is breathe. Now, everything I say is an invitation, never an instruction. For ease, I'm going to do a counted breath with you. So we're going to do 5 in, 5 out. However, we all have different lung capacities. And so 5 in, 5 out might feel like it's not quite enough. You might want to do a little bit longer, or you may want to shorten it. It's completely fine. You can absolutely do that. So as we come into the practice, I'd first of all say that if straight away you're like, no, I know that I want to do a longer count or a shorter count, you absolutely can. You can put me on mute or you can just count for yourself. And then as we get into the practice, I'll encourage you to do what feels right for your breath. So as I say, invitation, not instruction. So you can come back to whatever position feels comfortable for you for this practice. And again, you might like to close your eyes or soften your gaze, whatever feels right for you. And we'll just start by noticing the breath. So we'll start by noticing where the breath is coming into the body. Maybe coming in through the nose or the mouth. Just noticing. And noticing the sensation as the breath leaves the body. Perhaps you feel a slight tickle on the lips. Perhaps you can feel the air around your nostrils. We'll notice where the breath sits in the body today. So where can you feel the sensation of your breath most? Perhaps it's in the belly. Perhaps you feel it in the diaphragm around the ribs. Or perhaps it's in the chest. Noticing where the breath is for you today. And if it's in the chest today, you might like to just bring the hands to the ribs or just the upper belly and just encourage the breath into your hands, breathing into your hands. The breath stays in the chest, that's okay. You may find that you can have some more spacious breaths if the breath comes down a little bit. We'll begin by breathing in for 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. We'll hold and out. 4, 3, 2, 1, and hold. In, 2, 3, 4, 5, and hold. Out and hold. In and hold. Out and hold. In and hold. Out and hold. In. And at this point, you're starting to notice how the breath feels for you. Hold. Out and hold. In. Beginning to find your rhythm now. You can continue with the beat of 5 if you'd like to. Going with what feels right for you. You felt that you weren't quite getting to the bottom of your exhale before. Increase the exhale. Keeping the exhale slow and controlled. We want our exhales to just softly leave the body without force. And inhales come in smoothly. We don't pull the air into the body. We allow it to come. Noticing what feels good for your body and breath today. Thoughts come. Allow them. Noticing that a thought is there is part of the practice. You can softly let it pass you by with your exhale, breathing it away like it's just floating on the wind of your exhale. And coming back to the focus on your breath. Coming back to counting if it's helpful. Perhaps you'd like to add more to your exhale. It might feel nice to sigh or hum on the exhale. You're all on mute. It's just you here. Exhale might come as a sigh. Might be quiet. Might be a hum. Mm. Taking a final long and slow exhale here. Big inhale. And beginning to come back to the present. Just gently wiggling the fingers and the toes. Again, there's no rush. You can stay here for as long as you want. Perhaps you'd like to bring the body into a stretch. Might need a wiggle. Whenever you're ready, with no rush at all, opening the eyes, refamiliarizing yourself with your surroundings. I'm going to pass over to you in a second. Before I do, I just want to reiterate that mindfulness can be practiced at any time. What we've done today are kind of more settled practices to demonstrate to you what mindfulness can look like. It can also look like going out on a walk and just noticing what's around you. It can be before a meal, you notice the colours of the food that's on your plate, you notice the textures as you eat, you notice the taste. It can be a full practice like what we've just done, or it can be just touching your fingertips to each other and just feeling that sensation. One of my favourites is just touch, just spending time feeling the sensations of yourself touching your body and soothing yourself.